The terrifying story of a mysterious neighbor. After all, what secret was hidden in his house? You will know after listening to the story. You will have chills. If you like our stories, then please like our video. Subscribe this channel. And be sure to give your opinion by commenting. Thanks for watching. Quiet, you fool. My child is sleeping. The man shouted at Dennis, who was playing in the lawn outside their new home with his sister. They had recently shifted to a new place, which was not easy, especially for Dennis. He had to leave all his school friends behind, and although he knew he would make new friends in his new school, the loss was not something you can move over in a matter of days. His sister was, however, too young to understand such sentiments. She was extremely happy in the new house. The prime reason was a separate room that she could decorate herself. Only yesterday, they had painted her room together with pink and mauve shades. She had taken the liberty to make some amazing drawings, in her opinion, on the walls. Dennis had a difficult time controlling his laughter when she had asked him how her drawings looked, with an innocent look on her face. Of course, their new house was bigger and better than their previous home. His dad had got a new job, which paid well. Good times are right ahead of us, his mother had told him before moving. Even he had a personal room now, and he had put up the posters of his favorite Marvel heroes on one of the walls. A small shelf was enough to hold his books, but his dad had promised that they would buy a bigger one, something that could hold his books as well. The only thing that was bothering him in the new home was their neighbor. Every time he went out for playing, their neighbor would come out silencing him. Apparently his child was sleeping always. He had complained to his mother regarding it. The house was empty before we came. It might take a little time for him to adjust to the change, she had explained to him. There was nothing he could do, as he was just a kid. However, the rude neighbor was getting on his nerves now. It was their lawn and they were not even that much loud. "Danny, the lunch is ready," her mother called out before he could think of doing anything. "You know I hate that name," he said annoyingly. His mother blew raspberry in return. His sister was already on her favorite chair and waiting for the food. Apparently she loved to eat. It wasn't about anything special, but in general, she just loved eating. "Have you seen anybody other than the hot-minded uncle in the house next to ours?" he asked while sipping juice. "No, why?" his mother reverted. "Because he is always asking me to be quiet. I wonder how his family bears with him," he said. "It's their personal matter, Dennis. Moreover, I told you he will get better at adjusting to the new scenario soon. Just give the poor man some time." Dennis had caught flu and he remained inside the house for the next 3 days. Which was irritating for him, but he had no choice. On the 4th day, however, he was out with his sister and a frisbee. He saw his neighbor leave his house in a hurry. It was a sigh of relief for Dennis, because now he could play with his sister without any worries or restrictions. While playing, he accidentally threw the frisbee a little higher and it went straight into their neighbor's yard. "Ah, I'll get it, just wait for me, pumpkin," he said, running towards the neighboring yard. He was able to get a hold of the frisbee in merely 25 seconds. He reset the timer on his watch after making a mental note of the duration and approximate distance. It was a habit. He picked up the frisbee and was about to run back when he heard a noise coming from the house. He glanced at the door and found out that it was unlocked and half open. Out of sheer curiosity, he walked toward the door and tried peeking inside. "Hello? Is anybody there?" he inquired. There wasn't much to notice in the house. It looked as if the residents had stopped looking after it. He stepped inside and found the house unusually quiet. He could even hear his feet taking one step at a time inside the house. Apparently, the house was empty. Why did he leave it open though? He pondered. As he was returning back to the door, he heard something from above the floor. "Is somebody there? Are you all right?" Dennis asked, but there was no answer in return. He decided to climb upstairs and check out himself. He noticed the old painting on the wall adjacent to the staircase while climbing the stairs. One of the painting was Dante's Inferno. He had read about it in Dan Brown's book Inferno. He could have marveled upon the painting. But the neighbor could have arrived at any moment now, and it wasn't the risk he was willing to take. Suddenly a black cat jumped on him out of nowhere. He was able to manage his balance, but this sudden incident had increased his heartbeats. It was now getting a bit creepier. The cat mewed once before leaving for good. He climbed to the first floor and began checking the individual rooms. He was sure that the source of the noise he had heard was somewhere from the first floor only. 2 of the rooms he had checked were empty except a few shelves, and so he moved towards the third one. He would later curse himself for turning the knob of the third door. He turned the knob slowly and stepped inside. There was a bed inside the room and a child was lying on top of the bed. Only his body was red and 2 horns were coming out from either sides of his forehead. Tubes were attached to his body and a red fluid was being supplied to his veins. The sight had scared him out of his wits. He wanted to return back, but before he could turn around, the eyes of the child drew open and he found that they were pitch black. A scream escaped his mouth, but someone kept a hand on his mouth to silence him. It was the neighbor. He was holding samples of blood in his other hand. "I told you to be quiet. Now you have woken him up. And he won't sleep again before having his food."